Now, ahead of Menstrual Hygiene Day, which is observed annually on May 28th, some menstrual health advocate groups are calling for an end to period poverty in Nigeria. One of them is Blossomflow Foundation, which supports the eradication of period poverty in Africa. Period poverty, or the inability to afford menstrual products, is a serious issue, especially in developing countries. This is an issue menstruating girls and women grapple with monthly, and a spotlight topic on Menstrual Hygiene Day is observed every May 28th. In Nigeria, an estimated 37 million women and girls experience period poverty, meaning that they are unable to access or afford menstrual products like pads or tampons, but also pain medications and underwear. Now, joining me on the news to discuss this further is an advocate for menstrual health, Joan Faluyi. She is the founder and CEO of Blossomflow Foundations. Joan, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So, in light of the persistent barrier to accessing menstrual hygiene products, what innovative strategies or interventions have you observed in recent years that are effectively addressing these challenges?
Yes, so before we talk about the innovative way of addressing this problem, we need to know numbers. We have a quarter of the world population that are seeing their period as we speak, and 668 million that do not have access to clean water, and 3.7 million of those number, or 2.7 million, I beg your pardon, do not have access to sanitary conditions. So you can imagine the difficulty already for a woman or a girl to be able to overcome or manage what is a normal situation. Now we have issues like resolvable. A lot of NGOs and people have actually come up with things to resolve these issues by giving sanitary pads, like my foundation does, some reusable pads. Then we also have educating people in schools, in public setting, teaching them to learn how to manage their period situation, and also, importantly, educating our men and the boys and community. You know, in Africa, we have a lot of community learning. So we have a lot of community people. The women have taken out their own private time to educate their neighbors, and a little bit of community center education as well. Then we're in a social media age where we have access to telephones, messages, and internet. There are a lot of resources on the internet. But the question is it enough? It's never enough.
Good question there. And you did say educating the men is important. I want to also testify to that it was anathema for us to know about these things growing up as a boy in the 80s. But can you speak to the importance of not only providing access to menstrual products, but also ensuring access to private and hygienic spaces for managing periods, particularly in resource-constrained settings or areas?
Yes, that is a very important thing to really discuss about. A lot of these ladies need privacy. And in Nigeria, I can speak, we do not have enough private spaces for our ladies who need to change their sanitary towel in case they have any slight accidents or just to change. They do not have access to good public toilets, where it is that they have access to water in the toilets. They do not have access to good hospital centers where they can just run in and say, okay, I just want to change my sanitary pad. So privacy is a problem. I'll give an example. Like I was in one outreach and we're being told that a girl got stained, and women had to rally around her with their wrappers, and she now had to change in public. Tell me where the privacy is in that. So our government has to actually make an advocacy. We have to be definite about this, providing public facilities for these ladies to change. And why is our offices not having pad dispensers? Why can't we have things like toilet rolls, and yet we don't have pad dispensers in our toilet? It is as common. Period is not a luxury. It's actually an everyday to life thing. So we have to make access for these women to enjoy privacy and their dignity and destigmatize period. If they're able to have all this, it will make the common woman good. And that's why in Blossomflow we do a hashtag, Be Her Peace. How can you give this woman her peace? Give her her privacy, and that will work.
Privacy is indeed dignity. Let's talk about the cost of these products, these sanitary products for women who are menstruating. What are the contributing factors to the high cost of menstrual products, and what steps can be taken to make these products more affordable and accessible to all menstruating individuals?
Yes, I'd like to start with a story. You can imagine a family that earns 50,000 naira, and the father has to give his 4 children sanitary towels, and he has to weigh that against giving food. Go figure, what do you think that will happen? The father would rather take care of food than give them access to sanitary towels. With that in mind, we need to ensure the government has to be part of this advocacy in trying to reduce taxes and also the cost of raw materials of producing the sanitary towels. Then companies also have to have more intention in just trying to say, look, how do we make sure that we have different categories or different products of sanitary towels so that every income levels be able to afford from the premium to the very bottom end of the ladder. Then also encouraging a lot of more companies to come in to manufacture sanitary towels to make it easy and accessible. Then we also have transportation. You can imagine if I was a seller in the market, I go to the market to buy these sanitary towels in my store, and if I buy them, I have to transport them, I have to pay my rent, I have to make the profits, I also have to feed my family, and you see that adds up to the cost. So we just have to be very intentional about the cost of this sanitary towel because it's affecting the everyday life of the average girl or woman child out there, where it says that they have to choose their dignity and use rags and use things that are going to cause infection and also affect their reproductive ability in future. So it is very key and important that we do the needful.
I see what you did there as you referenced the current NLC struggle for minimum wage, with the 50,000 naira reference there.
Yeah.
But can you also discuss the cultural or societal barriers that may impede progress in menstrual hygiene management?
Now, all over the world, people are shamed by seeing period. Why? In Nigeria, there's stigma about seeing period. Why? In local communities, even in our own urban communities, people actually are ashamed of seeing their period because of the stigma, because of the laugh, because of the shame. And if you're ashamed of something, how do you talk about it? So we really need to educate our fathers, our mothers, our significant others. Like we were in an outreach a couple of months ago, and the woman was telling her husband, I want to be held when I'm in my period. And the husband is telling her, but it's like dirty. And in some cultures, they actually make these women stay away from their family, and when they're finishing their period, they come over. So the stigma, it's embarrassing for the woman. You can imagine a young girl being stained, and what happens? She's being laughed at. That dehumanizes her. That doesn't make her have confidence. Then the woman has to go to work, and she's having period pain, and she can't come to work, and they say you're not serious, or you don't even have access to this sanitary pad. Then religion also is in play. They almost see, oh, it's dirty. It's not dirty. It is what makes you a woman. Without period, there will be no population. Without period, there will be no Nigeria. So it is something we all have to embrace and support the women. It is a natural and it's a beautiful thing to happen to any woman.
Well, Joan Faluyi, thank you very much for your efforts, and thank you for joining us here on the news today to talk about this very important thing.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having me here. Thank you.